We're rolling.
Welcome back to the M&P podcast. Chris and Alex here. Eric is off to the side watching the Bulls. If you hear any distant exclamations, you know what it's about.
Hello. Hi, Eric.
And right now, we've just got a couple more things we want to cover here. The NHL is in full swing, and the NFL really coming down to everything here.
Yeah.
Let's start with the NHL. I mean, a couple of surprises with the NHL, if I might say so.
Columbus,
And
mainly.
and Edmonton, the other in the West. But Columbus is the one that really surprised me.
Yeah, well, this is surprising pretty much everyone. I'm seeing them blow these guys out night after
They
night.
scored 10 goals against Montreal.
Yeah, like, how are they doing this?
And Montreal is not that bad this year. Like, is not bad this year.
No, I mean, they started off as the best team in hockey points-wise through the first, month or so.
I'm still not used to seeing Shea Weber being on the Canadiens, though. Like, anytime I see it, I'm still not used to it.
Well, especially since I'm used to playing Shea Weber when the Hawks play the Predators, and now PK's on the Predators.
Yeah, right. I'm used to seeing PK Subban being with the Canadiens, and I'm seeing him on Nashville, which is kind of different.
Yeah.
And then in the West, Chicago is playing pretty well this year so far. 23-10-5. Good for 51 points.
They're fourth overall in points. Well, they're tied with the Rangers for third, and then Pittsburgh and Columbus have more points.
The Minnesota Wild, though, are fast closing in. They've won their last 12.
Well, the next game is going to be Minnesota and Columbus.
Ooh,
so something's going to give.
That'll be entertaining.
Something's going to give.
On the Pacific Division, a little closer with that. Only 45 points for the division leader out there with San Jose. Edmonton Oilers got off to a very hot start. I mean, 44 points. I mean, this is still much better than everybody thought Edmonton was going to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of happy to see it. I've always kind of enjoyed watching that. I'm happy to see Connor McDavid
They have
not wasting his early years.
They have more points than the Blues, the Ducks, Boston, and Tampa Bay right now.
After going to the East, there's also quite a few more teams that they have more points than.
And LA and Dallas. The LA and Dallas are not doing that good.
No, Arizona and Colorado bringing up the bottom of the West so far. I mean,
that's not surprising.
Not really, no.
That's not surprising.
But the thing that surprises me the most, probably if anything, is that Columbus has a plus 48 differential.
And most points in the league right now.
Yeah.
One more than Pittsburgh.
I mean, they've won their last... Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they were doing... I didn't realize that Columbus had won their last 14. That's insane.
Well, yeah, it's a 12-game win streak versus a 14-game win streak.
I mean, that so far is the matchup of the year.
You know what would be so funny if it was the old format and they ended in a tie?
Oh, my gosh. That'd be about the greatest way to do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins still hang tight atop the East, 53 points just behind them. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10.
Defending Stanley Cup champions, they're still a great team.
Crosby is scoring at an incredible rate. He already has 42 points, 26 goals.
Yeah.
It's incredible what he's been doing so far.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that annoyed me about Penguins fans. Last night, Patrick Kane scored his 700th career point. And, there was a post about it, celebration. And all these Pens fans are saying, oh, there's no Crosby, I'm like...
No, he's not. No, he's not. And that's the beauty of it, because they have fundamentally different games.
Right. Be quiet.
I mean, the thing I'm excited for, though, is this new generation. I think we might have touched on it last year when we were talking about it after McDavid and Jack Eichel both came into the league. But I feel like that is going to be this new generation's Crosby Ovechkin with those two.
Oh, sure.
And so far, McDavid is taking that pretty easily, I would say. I mean, I know McDavid for a time was among the top point scorers in the league, and he still is. He's actually tied with the league lead in points with 42. Except he's only scored 13 goals. He's assisted on 29.
I believe for a while Artem Anisimov was on that list, but he had some injuries and he had to miss a bunch of time.
And another key to the Penguins' success is also Evgeny Malkin has been incredible. He's just behind Crosby and McDavid with 41. Panarin is in the top 5 in this list. He's got 38.
He's gone off.
I mean, both Kane and Panarin are in the top 10 in this league. Cam Atkinson, I was talking about him earlier with you. He's been doing very well for Columbus. 35 points, 15 goals, 20 assists. And, man, I don't even want to know how far down I have to go to find a Red Wing on this list. I can talk about them for quite a bit in a little bit if you would want me to kind of rant.
Do it.
I have one vote of support.
I mean, if you want to. I
guess I shouldn't say it's as much of a rant as just an interesting feeling that I have about it so far. I'm 22 years old. For the first time in my life, I'm being treated to mediocre or even bad hockey for the first time in my life. It's very interesting. The Wings right now, they sit at 16-16-4, 36 points, a minus 13 goal differential.
That's pretty mediocre.
Yeah, they're 4-5-1 of their last 10. They won last night in overtime in Ottawa. They've squandered third period leads that they shouldn't have squandered. I mean, I think for the first time, the Wings are looking at a team that really isn't that great in quite a while. I mean, Ken Holland brought in a few new things this offseason, nothing really that spectacular. I mean, Franz Nielsen kind of headlined the class. I mean, he's more of a playmaker, kind of like Zetterberg, and he was kind of billed as who was going to be the one to replace Datsuk. But you're not replacing Datsuk with another goal scorer, is what kind of confused me on that.
Right.
And then you bring in Thomas Vanek, which I think so far out of the three, Vanek's my favorite move. He's basically turning out to be what Brad Richards coming in last year was supposed to do.
Well, Brad Richards was on his last leg.
I mean, that and Vanek, when you look at Vanek's numbers, he still has the capability to be a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, sure.
Which the Wings need, and he's also brings a fantastic veteran presence to a team that has a lot of younger guys, namely Dylan Larkin, and then also Anthony Mantha and Andreas Athanasiou. But there's a couple of re-signings that he made, though. I mean, while I like them, they didn't seem necessary. I mean, I kind of like the fact that you brought back Darren Helm. I think that's okay. But for 4 years at $4 million, it's, I don't know, it just doesn't seem quite right. And then you bring back Drew Miller, who's essentially only good on the penalty kill, and then you bring back Brendan Smith, who isn't that great of a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the defense, though, the Wings don't have a lot of options. Like we've been talking about that for probably about 4 years now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with scoring, I mean, you have the guys in Grand Rapids, like Mantha has seen more regular time because of injuries. I mean, and I will say injuries haven't helped them. Justin Ablocator has not been able to play a regular part this year, which is kind of key, losing an alternate captain. But guys that you brought back in, like Helm and Miller, those are roster spots that could have been taken with more regularity by a guy like Mitch Callahan.
Yeah.
I mean, Callahan is just getting wasted down in Grand Rapids. He's only about 25, 26 years old. He could be effective, but he's just not getting his chance. In goal, Jimmy Howard's been doing better than Peter Mrazek. I mean, Howard, again, injured. And now Jared Coreau from Grand Rapids, a name you recognize, is getting his chance. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's still youth coming up. I mean, Tyler Bertuzzi has seen limited action. I mean, and quite honestly, I think you could have gone with Tyler Bertuzzi over Steve Ott.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know. Some of the moves that Holland has made, like we talked earlier, right now I feel like the Detroit Red Wings aren't quite able to move on from like their 08-09 Stanley Cup teams when there are only a few pieces left over from that.
And those days are long gone.
And none of those pieces are really that effective anymore.
Those days are long, long gone. Yeah, it's the whole nostalgic factor.
I mean, honestly, like, it's the Joe Louis Arena's last season. I do wish they had a better team with which to send it off. I mean, I've talked in previous years about being concerned about the streak being broken. I have no optimism at all this year that the streak continues. I think this is the year that it ends, and I think if it does, good. Maybe Holland will finally blow it up and restart it. But something that somebody did say to me is that what they need to do is go down to Tampa, back up about a 53-foot semi-truck from UPS just filled with cash with a blank check just to have Yzerman fill in his amount to come up to Detroit, come home, and bring that team back. But the thing is, though, Tampa's got a pretty good hold on him, and I don't see him leaving there.
Yeah, I don't see it either. He's, you know...
I mean, as much as I wish that it would happen, I don't think it's going to.
Well, you know, I've been kind of saying this the past 2-3 years about the Red Wings. You know, they kept that streak alive by winning almost on the last game of the season, almost. Right,
and essentially that's the way they've been going. Like, Holland is more concerned with keeping the streak alive than rebuilding the team and looking for the long term.
Right. It wasn't going to get you anywhere.
I mean, with that, I don't know, it's just really kind of confusing because you have the pieces that can do it, and you have future pieces that are coming up. I mean, probably the biggest piece that I can think of is Evgeny Svechnikov. He's a young Russian prospect that the Wings drafted, I believe, in 2014. I'm going to take a quick look at that, if I can spell his name right. But I immediately got excited when they drafted him because, I mean, think about it. I mean, the Wings have a history with Russian guys such as Sergei Fedorov, Pavel Datsyuk, the other Russian five. Whenever the Wings bring out a Russian guy, how can you not get excited? But this kid is 20 years old, 6'3", 205. He was drafted in 19th overall in the 2015 entry draft. And I saw him in action this preseason. Scored 2 goals in the game I saw, one of which he completely undressed Marc-Andre Fleury. Completely undressed him. I mean, right now he's playing third line in Grand Rapids. He wasn't going to make the team out of camp. I knew that. But Anthony Mantha somehow did not make the team out of camp. Like, you have these younger guys that are down there that are waiting for their chance. And I think I saw somewhere that Holland is concerned that playing them and them not doing well is going to affect them negatively. I think not playing them in the NHL and letting them get a taste of that and not letting the team get younger is being more detrimental than anything else.
Well, yeah, as it should be, especially when a lot of you guys are old.
I mean, moving into a new arena, if the Wings don't make the playoffs this year, I think Holland would do pretty well to blow it up, except for some of the younger talented guys. I mean, obviously you're going to keep Dylan Larkin. That's not negotiable. I think Ryan Sproul should stay around as a young defenseman. Danny DeKeyser, Xavier Willett. I mean, they just re-signed Luke Glendening to a pretty big deal. I mean, he's not exactly young anymore, but you may not have much of a choice. I mean, the biggest thing is just getting teams to take the contracts that you've got. I think you keep Thomas Vanek and Henrik Zetterberg around to give some veteran guidance. I mean, I think Jimmy Howard could be lost to the expansion draft. I've heard talk about Riley Shahan being lost to that as well. But I think Shahan would be a good one to keep around for that if you can help it. But I think it's time for Ken Holland to blow things up and just go into a new arena, rebuild the team, and just get back on your feet as soon as you can. I mean, Edmonton's tank took a while, but look where they're heading now.
Yeah, I mean, there comes a time when you got to do it, and just because you do it doesn't necessarily mean it'll take as long as Edmonton's.
Right. I mean, but the thing is, it took Edmonton a while, mainly because they couldn't make any blue line improvements while they were picking up all these offensive pieces.
Yeah, they didn't have any defense, and goalies were a carousel.
Right, and then Talbot came along after proving himself, and he's paid dividends for them so far. They made a couple of good blue line additions. I mean, namely Andrei Sekera, who came in last year, was a pretty big step in that direction for them.
Right.
And then you had like Nugent Hopkins, Eberle, Hall, and McDavid last year. And then Puljujarvi, who they drafted this year, I think 3rd overall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was kind of a logjam up there. They traded Hall, I believe, to New Jersey, which I think was good because I heard he had a bit of an attitude problem as it was. But that works pretty well. I mean, McDavid's able to center a line now, still work with Eberle. Nugent Hopkins, I believe, centers another line. And then Talbot's holding it down in the back, and he's got defense to keep him from facing about 50 shots a game.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know, like, Edmonton's took a while. I mean, if there's... And being honest, there's not many top draft picks that are blue liners.
Right.
So, I don't know. With that, I mean, that's my thoughts on the Red Wings right now. I mean, the blowing it up can work pretty well, and I think it's time that Ken Holland considers it. That's all. Speaking of blowing it up and restarting things, the Toronto Maple Leafs actually aren't sitting too horribly so far.
No, they're slowly going to improve, slowly.
I mean, Austin Matthews, hat-trick in your first NHL game, that's one way to get off on the right foot.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, Mike Babcock coaching Austin Matthews, I think, is one of the best things that can be happening right there.
Huh.
And then Patrick Lane has also been incredibly entertaining to watch out in Winnipeg. That's never been a doubt in my mind that those two would be both fantastic. Then out in Chicago, you were talking to me about this today, an extension for the Breadman.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-year deal, and that all has to do with salary cap stuff. So we're going to see in the future which happens with A, salary cap, and B, the expansion draft, because that's going to affect a lot of rosters.
Right. I mean, I thought I saw something somewhere one time. I don't know how old it is, but it was like a projection of like what the Vegas team could look like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like notable names I saw in there. I think I saw, like I said, Riley Shahan was a name that they mentioned from Detroit being there. People have said that maybe the Wings shouldn't protect Jimmy Howard. Like any names that you've heard kicked around in Chicago?
Scott Darling is one. Maybe Marcus Kruger. Those are just thrown around. Because Scott Darling he's a backup goaltender that's proven to be capable of starting. So I think that'd be a good place to start.
It's kind of a Talbot situation.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I don't want to lose Darling, but, I could see them losing Darling in the expansion draft. I really could.
Right, and with that, I think we've touched on as much as we can with the NHL so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's mid-season. There's a long way to go.
Right, I mean, our next one, when we do it about a month from now, there's probably going to be some more development that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with that now, we now move on to the NFL, where the playoffs are getting pretty well set. I mean, the AFC is...
It's almost pretty much set. The only thing that really has to be determined are the Chiefs and the Raiders, which one's going to be the division winner, which one's going to be the wild card. Other than that, everything is pretty much set.
Correct. With the NFC, I mean, you already have the Cowboys who have clinched everything there.
Yeah, home field, whatnot.
I mean, then you have the Falcons who are
week.
The Falcons who are already in. You have the Giants who are already in.
Yeah, the Falcons, it's just a matter of seeding with them. But
I mean, you have 3 division winners already with Dallas, Atlanta, and Seattle.
Right.
The Giants are in. It's just a matter of whether or not... Well, actually, the Giants are in. They're going to be a wild card that's established right there. They're not.
Well, yeah, they're not going to win the division.
No. And then I ask myself this every single time it happens. But why the hell does it always have to come down to Week 17 against Green Bay.
And Rodgers always wins Week 17. He always freaking wins.
And
whether it's his skill or bullshit from the refs, he always wins.
And honestly, it's going to come at a worse time because the Packers have been rolling so far, and the Detroit Lions have just looked awful.
When the Packers are on a roll, you can't beat them.
I mean, the thing is, though, I will say the Lions always have played the Packers well at Ford Field. They always have.
Yes, they have.
And honestly, Stafford seems incredibly confident going into this game, which is huge. Quite honestly, Stafford has had an MVP-type year. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm not incredibly optimistic. I'm going to pull for the Lions as hard as I can, obviously.
I'd want to see the Lions win, but I put money on the Packers.
I mean, we'll see how it works. I mean, the Packers' running game is really what's been winning it for them in the last few weeks.
Well, I mean,
last week it was Rodgers that went off. I will say that, but against the Bears, it was the running game.
They couldn't tackle. Like, the tackling was so bad. The Bears missed so many tackles on Ty Montgomery. The safeties, that's a whole other story. They had one inexperienced safety go after Jordy Nelson.
And looking at it, even if the Lions do lose to Green Bay, I don't think the Lions make the playoffs unless the Redskins lose.
Well, yeah, if the Redskins lose and the Lions win, then Green Bay's out of the playoffs, I'm pretty sure.
And if the Lions lose and Washington wins, the Lions are out.
Right.
And the Buccaneers also in the hunt right now as well. That's kind of surprising, isn't it?
A lot has to happen for them.
I mean, with the AFC, the team of destiny, the Oakland Raiders, dealt a massive blow last week, though, with Derek Carr
That's
going down.
devastating.
I'm sad about that. I have a ton of respect for Derek Carr. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad to see him go down with that. I mean,
I couldn't imagine being a diehard Oakland fan.
I mean, the Dolphins don't have it easy either with Ryan Tannehill being out.
Yeah, I mean, Moore's been a good backup, but it's really hard to win without your starting quarterback, especially if they're going to be playing the Steelers. Yeah, I think it's going to be a short trip for them.
I mean, we want to talk about a real team of destiny. The Dallas Cowboys have really turned it on this year. I mean, Dak Prescott earning that starting spot outright.
They were so fun to watch and so entertaining, but let's see what happens in the playoffs.
I mean, Zeke Elliott's had a fantastic year, but then again, almost any running back. I mean, I'm not. First off, let me say, I'm not discrediting Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's a fantastic running back, but he's definitely has a huge amount of help from that Dallas O-line. I'm not saying that Elliott wouldn't be having the same kind of year.
Yeah.
But, and then Dez Bryant finally coming around has been huge. He's given Prescott his main target. And then that defense has just showed up for him. I mean, then the Giants' defense has been their big selling point. They absolutely shut down Stafford and the Lions the other week. Odell Beckham still proving to be.
We'll see if the Giants have more of that January magic that they've had.
We'll see if they do. I mean, and Victor Cruz has gone out there and just said that, like the thoughts he has on New England are just that New England does not want to see New York.
No, they don't.
Because each time they've faced them, it's not ended well.
You know who I wanted? You know what would be my pick for the Super Bowl? My Super Bowl pick. I picked it before the Sports Sanity Pick'ems, one of the other radio shows I do. I picked the Steelers to win the Super Bowl. You know what I would love to see? Even though I don't think the Falcons are going to get that far, I would love to see a Steelers-Falcons Super Bowl.
Forget that. I'd love to see Dolphins-Falcons somehow, even though I know it's not going to happen. Well, the Raiders could, Eric. I mean,
not without Derek Carr. It's going to be really hard.
I mean, they don't have a car to pull them along anymore. But they have a Mack truck.
Be quiet.
I had to.
The Texans, they'll be one and done. I guarantee it.
I mean, Brock Osweiler's not even starting for them anymore.
Yeah, it's savage.
I mean, you want to talk about an experiment that failed.
Yeah. I saw it from the beginning. I'm like, he's not that good. And he's not.
I mean, maybe he would have been better served if he could have stayed with Denver somehow. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But Denver is another one that's notably missing here. I mean, granted, they've had no.
Well, they lost how many pieces?
I mean, losing Peyton Manning is probably obviously the biggest side of that because
even though it's funny because Peyton Manning was awful in the Super Bowl, but overall, yes.
I mean, he was awful in the Super Bowl. He had a decent enough regular season enough that he could still run that offense
better than any other quarterback.
Better than Trevor Siemian, better than Mark Sanchez, obviously.
I forget he's still there.
I mean, then the LA Rams are just another fire that has been started in Monaco. I mean,
they got a great defense. They just have absolutely no offense.
I mean, Goff finally came back around, which is good.
Right.
I mean, because they were relying on Case Keenum for a while. I mean, Jeff Fisher is finally gone, which is a huge step for them.
Right.
And there was rumors that they were going to try to lure Jim Harbaugh away from the University of Michigan, but Harbaugh has very firmly, very adamantly said that is not going to happen.
I don't see that.
I mean, Harbaugh has gone on record time and time again after coming to Michigan saying that this is his final destination job, that is his dream job. And quite honestly, why would you leave college where you're making $9 million a year, able to do
whatever the heck you want.
Basically, I mean, because that's basically what got him out of the NFL is that the 49ers tied his hands behind his back.
Right, exactly. And, people were saying that the Bears should go after him. I'm like, yeah, you could try, but it's not going to work. But they should at least try.
I don't think anything is really going to lure Harbaugh out of the college.
Right now, I don't think so, no.
I mean, Harbaugh's always kind of been a journeyman, but he's a Michigan man. He went there. He coached. He played under Bo Schembechler. His dad had connections to the University of Michigan. Like, I don't see anything happening unless an NFL team can suddenly match the deal that Harbaugh is getting at U of M. I don't see him leaving Ann Arbor at all for that.
Yeah.
But college is not our realm. We will leave that to the others who speak more intelligently about it than we.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to think about some other ones. I mean, then out in Buffalo, the Ryan experiment is also a massive failure.
I just thought it was weird how they fired him with 1 week to go.
What I saw is he basically said, I'm tired of waiting for it, just do it.
Okay, well.
Which is probably the most Rex Ryan thing ever, first off. And then
he didn't want to be there. They didn't want him there.
I mean, it's because they have one of the best rushing offenses in the league. Yet
yes,
they're one of the worst. They're also one of the worst teams overall. I mean, and also Tyrod Taylor is also being benched this coming week. I understand.
Yeah, because they don't want to risk injury. There's potential of injury. They don't want to risk it in a meaningless game. I mean, the Bills have some nice pieces, and they could be a good team if everything comes together. It just hasn't.
I mean, they just need the right coach. I mean, everything I hear, Sean Payton's on his way out of New Orleans.
Yes.
Tom Coughlin's out there on the open market. I've heard him connected with LA a little bit.
I've heard him connected with the Jaguars, but nothing progressed.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
And then, and also I've heard that both Terrell Austin and Jim Bob Cooter in Detroit are drawing head coaching interest.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose Jim Bob Cooter based on his name.
That's a great name.
Exactly. Thank you, Eric.
Jim Bob Cooter is...
And also the work he's done with Matthew Stafford. Oh, my God.
I want him on the Bears. I do.
You can't have him.
Well, we could get him.
I don't know. If Jim Bob leaves Detroit, this feels so awkward to say that.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Talking about an NFL coach named Jim Bob. That's just the funniest thing, first off. But if Jim Bob does leave Detroit, it's not going to be for anything less than a head coaching job.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it sounds like John Fox is going to be gone from the Bears.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I remember there was such optimism when that move was made.
Yeah, by me, not by everyone. It's
to be fair, losing Adam Gase didn't help. It helped.
That sucked.
It helped the Dolphins.
Yeah,
but obviously,
John Fox is a weird coach. He really is. I don't think it's working.
You have to have the right team to work with him. I mean, Jack Del Rio is another one that's worked swimmingly out in Oakland. Oh my lord.
Yeah. The John Fox era. You have the whole secretive stuff. I could go on, but it sounds like he's going to be gone. As long as they keep Vic Fangio at defense, that's really what is the big thing. But
I mean, then also at quarterback in Chicago, you have some questions there. I mean, Cutler has a massive contract, obviously.
I think he's going to be gone. To the Meatball Bears fans saying Barkley for future star quarterback, please shut up.
It's better than the Meatball Lions fans who were so mad about Jake Rudock being put on the practice squad initially.
Well,
you heard about the reaction that got, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, I can understand why. Basically, for those of you who don't know, at the beginning of the season, Jake Rudock had a very good preseason. I will say that. And Dan Orlovsky ultimately won the backup job over Rudock, who cleared all waivers and ended up back on the Lions practice squad. But there were Lions fans who vehemently said, "Oh, he should be our backup over Orlovsky." And my line of thought was, okay, 31 teams passed on him.
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, there's not something that anybody else is seeing that the Lions were missing. And honestly, I think if you make Rudock the backup next year and you dump Orlovsky, great, whatever. I think Rudock has the potential to be something decent enough. But my favorite thing, I commented on something on Facebook, and somebody made the point and said, "Who's the other Michigan quarterback that was a 6th-round pick? What was his name? I'll wait." I'm like, "You're not seriously comparing this guy to Tom Brady."
Oh my god.
And then someone else came in and made the point, "Okay, you're saying this about him. Jake Rudock isn't even a full-on Michigan man. He transferred from Iowa and played his last year there."
That's stupid.
As soon as I saw someone compare that, I'm just like, "Oh my god."
Oh, that's so stupid.
My thought was just like, I didn't even respond to anything after that. Because as soon as somebody said something, I'm just like, there's no reasoning with these people. I can't do this.
No, you can't reason with meatballs. If you introduce logic, it literally makes their brains spark and fry.
When it comes to meatball fans, I mean, Chicago obviously has their share. You've told me about that time and time again.
Well, more than a share.
I mean, LA has theirs, I imagine. New York has theirs more and more than anything else. Detroit has theirs, especially when it comes to football. Oh my
Oh,
lord!
the Meatball Bears fans run the meatball world of Chicago. Right there along with the Meatball Sox fans and the Meatball Cup fans.
I mean, like the only team that has meatball fans, I would say in Detroit. I mean, I just love that phrase. Like, I'm not sure if like you're the
We
one that,
invented it.
Yes,
Chicago sports invented the meatball fan.
well, God bless you for that.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, like the Lions and the Tigers are really the only ones that have it. Like people that are like saying that this team still has like the potential to go all the way. I don't think they do. I mean, I don't think the Tigers do. I think you're still better served to blow up as much as you can. That we already discussed that earlier, but I don't know. Like the Lions are the worst. Like, then there's other people who still believe that everything is working with the Wings, and they just need to go get a couple pieces and make things right. There's been irreparable damage made to that Red Wings team that cannot be fixed with just acquisitions. I said the same about the Tigers a couple years ago at the deadline, but I don't know. With the NFL, it's going to be fun to see with this whole thing. I mean, the Lions-Packers one is probably the biggest matchup that truly matters.
Oh, absolutely.
The rest of the schedule, let's take a look just for the fun of it. Baltimore and Cincinnati, that has no implications whatsoever. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, that has no implications whatsoever. New England, Miami,
Nothing.
they're both in. It's not going to matter. Chicago, Minnesota, nothing at all.
Actually, I hope we lose so we can secure at least the top pick. So
Right. Buffalo, the Bills against the Jets, that means nothing. Dallas, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's out. Dallas is resting Prescott. Romo seeing his first action of the year. Cleveland, who is now 1-14. I was kind of hoping for somebody to share in my football futility, but I'm not that lucky. Facing off against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would do well to rest Big Ben. I would be surprised if they didn't, at least for half the game.
yeah, I mean,
Tampa Bay facing Carolina. Tampa Bay, that's definitely one they want to win. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jameis out there. Houston facing off against Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee not without Mariota. I mean, think about it. Isn't that kind of interesting, though? Mariota and Carr go down on the same day, same exact injury.
yeah, that's crazy.
And it's unfortunate, though, because Tennessee was in contention right there.
Yes, they were.
New Orleans against Atlanta. Atlanta has the division. I think Matt Ryan would do well to be rested for at least half of that game. Oakland and Denver. I mean, Oakland, you're playing for a decent enough. Oakland, you're playing for the division there against Denver. We'll see what happens there. They're playing in Denver, but without Derek Carr, which will be tough. LA against Arizona. That's for nothing more but pride. Kansas City playing for their own division hopes against San Diego. And San Diego's got to have the wind out of their sails after losing to Cleveland last week.
Yeah.
San Francisco facing off against Seattle. Seattle's got the division. Rest up. The Giants are in. Washington playing for their own playoff life there. And, of course, the big ones. Sunday night, Detroit and Green Bay.
It's been moved to the prime time, yep.
To nobody's surprise.
Nope, it's not.
Last time the Lions played the Packers in prime time, I have very bad memories.
Last time the Bears played the Packers, most times I've had bad memories, except for Thanksgiving last year.
No, the bad memory I have, the last time the Lions played the Packers in prime time was the Hail Mary.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was at Ford
So
Field.
poorly defended. Just get in front of it.
It happens like Richard Rodgers walked backwards and caught that. Like, how?
Get in front of it.
Like, if you would have been at the 814 that night, you would have just seen me staring at that TV just dumbfounded. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but with all of that, I mean, like you said, the Bears just tanking for the top pick. We'll see where that goes.
Yep.
Like, what would you say is probably the biggest need they would have in the draft?
A future quarterback. Safeties.
Owner.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
I can say the same too. I don't mind seeing the Ford family dropping not having the Lions.
The McCaskies are a joke. They really are. They've been a joke for a long time.
I mean, it'd be amazing if the Illich. I would say it would be amazing if the Illich family could buy the Lions too. But at the same time, Mike Illich is the one that's like giving Al Avila the blank checkbook to go out and get the pieces that he can to win the division.
I'd love Tom Ricketts to own the Bears, believe me. Look what he's doing with the Cubs.
Yeah, Ricketts has done wonders with the Cubs.
He's transforming the whole neighborhood, for goodness sake.
I mean, Tom Gores has done wonderful things with the Pistons, but I don't see him owning a football franchise. But, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I think this about wraps up what we've got for this
I think
edition
so as
of this.
well. Yep.
But again, it's great to be back here doing this, the M&P Sports Podcast. We're hoping to make this a regular monthly type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to try to get a Twitter page going for this. Be on the lookout for that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mills_Chris. Alex is ShyFanPat1.
Mm-hmm.
Find us on there. Give us a follow. We'll get a Twitter page up for this. We will share that as soon as we can. And once we have that up, be sure to give us a follow. We'll have poll questions, all these kind of things. Try to get some good conversation going there.
All your typical fun stuff.
Right, and also we are both writing for CleatGeeks.com.
Yes, we are.
So be on the look for Alex writing about Sabermetric Sunday, and for me, be on the lookout for Tiger Time, based on the Detroit Tigers. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because Eric just blew his nose like way off to the side. And it was
like
so
a drunk.
And also, you can find Eric on Twitter as well at NemchokE. Be sure to find all of us there. But for Cleat Geeks, watch out for me with Tiger Time based on the Detroit Tigers, Going to Work, installment about the Pistons, and Winged Wheel Watch about the Red Wings. And be sure to follow at Cleat Geeks for so much fantastic writing. A couple of friends of ours, Rob and Brad, also doing some work there.
Yes, they do.
And just really some great quality journalism from some pretty quality people. And again, be on the lookout on Twitter. This is the first edition of the M&P Sports Podcast. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.